Hi, everyone. Welcome to a brand new season of Crime Family. This is season 7 of the show. We're very excited to be back, and we have an update for you. So, as you'll see, if you're watching the video version, we have Lisa with us, and she is going to be our new co host for this season. If you listened last season to the show, I think she did one or two episodes with us. And so now she's back on a more permanent basis. Stephanie was unable to join us this season. She might be here for episodes here and there, but just wasn't able to commit to the full season. So we're excited to have Lisa with us. So welcome to our other sister, Lisa.
Hi, guys.
So yeah, we're very excited for the brand new season. And for the first episode of season 7, we decided to do a case that has recently come up in the news again. I think the case itself is 14 years old, but there's recently been some developments, or not so much developments, but it's been in the news again. So we are going to be talking about the mysterious death of Ellen Greenberg. And if you know about this case, then you know that there's still a lot of unanswered questions and a lot of strange circumstances surrounding her death. And so we are here to kind of do a deep dive into this case and talk about the details and the investigation and also some of the remaining questions that still surround her tragic death. So we're just going to get right into it without further ado. So Ellen Greenberg was a 27-year-old first grade teacher, and she was living in Philadelphia at the time of these events in January of 2011. So those who knew her described her as bright, caring, and deeply devoted to her students. And she was engaged to be married to her fiance, Sam Goldberg, and appeared to have a promising life ahead of her. So in the weeks leading up to her death, Ellen had confided in her parents that she was feeling increasingly anxious and overwhelmed by work related stress. She began seeing a psychiatrist for her anxiety and had been prescribed medication. One was for anxiety, and then another was for help sleeping. So on the day of her death, January 26, 2011, Ellen left work early due to a snowstorm, and she left work around 1 p.m. So this was a pretty major nor'easter in the city, and pretty much one of those ones where, like, the city basically shuts down, like everyone heads home early from work and, hunkers down. So she left work at around 1 p.m. And at around 1:26 p.m., Ellen goes to the local gas station to fill up her car with gas. And then she returns to her apartment that she shared with fiance Sam shortly after this. According to Sam, when she returned home that afternoon, she was really unhappy and talked about wanting to quit her job. So, like I said, she was having work related stress in the months leading up to this. And when she returned home, she was allegedly just ranting about her job and just talking about how stressful it was and wanting to start looking elsewhere. So, the next movements that we know for sure in this case is that Sam left the apartment to go to the gym in the apartment complex, and he leaves at around 4:50 p.m., and this was confirmed by CCTV footage that shows him leaving the apartment. And then he's seen on the same footage at the elevator bay to go back up to his floor 37 minutes later. When he returns to the apartment, he allegedly finds the door locked from the inside. And when he couldn't get into the apartment, he tries repeatedly to reach Ellen. So he tries calling her and texting her, but she never replies. So he starts to grow super concerned, and he at one point goes down to the building's doorman and he asks if Phil could help him to force the door open because it was locked. And she was presumably inside, but not responding to him. So Phil refused because he says that this would violate the company policy, that he couldn't go and break the door open. But Sam remained determined to get inside. So he goes upstairs and breaks the door open himself. And then once inside, he discovers the horrific scene. He sees Ellen lying on the kitchen floor and immediately dials 911. And during the call, he struggles to tell the dispatcher where Ellen's injuries were until the dispatcher offers to guide him through CPR if he was willing to try. So we're going to take a listen to the 911 call, and then once we do that, then we'll continue on in our discussion. I'll get your guys' thoughts on the 911 call after we take a listen.
Help! I need a emergency now. I just walked to my apartment. My fiance's on the floor with blood everywhere.
What is the address?
4601 Flat Rock Road. Please come help now.
4601
Flat Rock Road.
Is it the house or apartment?
Oh no! Oh no! It's an apartment. Please, Harry, please.
Where is she bleeding from?
I don't know. I can't tell.
No, sir, you have to calm yourself down in order to get you some help.
I'm sorry. I don't know. I'm looking at her right now. I can't see anything. There's nothing broken. She's bleeding. Ellie!
You don't know where she's bleeding from? Can't see
Ellie!
where the blood's coming from?
I think her head. I think she hit her head, I think. But it's everywhere.
Okay, sir,
it's everywhere.
She might have fallen. Do you know what happened?
She may have slipped. There's blood on the table. Her face is a little purple.
Okay, hold on for rescue for her. Stay on the phone. What's wrong?
I went downstairs to go work out. I came back up. The door was latched. My fiance's inside. She wasn't answering. So after about a half hour, I decided to break it down. I see her now just on the floor with blood. She's not responding.
Okay, is she breathing? Look at her chest. I need you to calm down, and I need you to look at her chest. It's really.
I really don't think she is.
Listen to me. Someone's on the way. Look at her chest. Is she flat on her back?
She's on her back. So I bring her.
Look at her chest and tell me if it's going up and down, up and down.
I don't see her moving.
Okay, do you know how to do CPR?
I don't.
Okay, I can tell you what to do, okay, until they get there. I want you to keep her flat on her.
God.
Hello?
Yeah, hi, okay.
Are you willing to do CPR with me over the phone until they get there?
I have to, right?
Okay, so get her flat on her back, bare her chest, okay? You want to rip her shirt off. Okay? Kneel down by her side.
Oh, my God. Ellie, please.
Listen, you can't freak out, sir, because you
Okay, I'm trying not to. Her shirt won't come off. It's a zipper. Oh, my God. She stabbed herself.
Where?
She fell with a knife. Oh, no, her knife's sticking out.
Her what?
There's a knife sticking out of her heart.
Oh, she stabbed herself?
I guess so. I don't know where she fell on it. I don't know.
Okay, well, don't touch it.
Okay, so I just let her down here now? I mean, what do I do?
No, I mean, you can't. If the knife is in her chest, it's going to be kind of hard for you to do CPR at this time.
Oh, no. Oh, my goodness. Okay.
Police, which operator? 277.
Is someone coming here?
Yes, they are. You said 4601 Flat Rock, right?
Yes.
Okay, someone's on the way. And the knife is still inside?
Wait, sir, what?
The knife is still inside of her?
Yes, I didn't take it out.
Was it her chest or what area?
It's in her chest. It looks like it's right in her heart.
Okay, someone's on the way out there. Okay, just get.
Oh my God! Oh my God! Okay.
How old is she?
She's 27.
27. And there's no sign of life at all? Like,
No, please don't be. What?
Pinch her under her arm and tell me if she responds to pain.
Ellie. She's not. Her arm and her hands are still warm. I don't know if that means, but there's blood everywhere.
I know, but you can't, and the knife is still inside of her. How far? Can you see how far it went in?
It looks pretty deep.
Okay.
It looks it's a long knife.
Don't touch anything. Yeah, don't touch anything, okay?
I'm not touching anything. I can't believe this, though.
So wait, it was just you there with her?
We're the only ones here.
And she ran in the door, you said latched it shut?
No, I went downstairs to work out, and when I came back up, the door was latched.
Oh.
Like, it was, it wasn't like it was, it was like locked from the inside, and I'm yelling. So I'm
was
yelling.
Your house broken into?
No.
So there's no sign of a break-in?
No sign of a break-in at all. I mean, there will be when you get here because I had to break the latch, but to get in.
Okay, 4601.
So I guess, what are your guys' thoughts of that 911 call? And it's kind of hard to think of your thoughts now when you know more about the case and stuff like that. But I guess maybe try and be objective and think like just listening to that just now. Anything stand out to you, or what are your thoughts?
When I first listened to it, even though I knew about the case, I will say it sounded very genuine to me until the end. Where it's like, oh no, she stabbed herself. She fell on a knife. I just thought like that would be the last conclusion I came to. Like, I thought that was a little weird.
Yeah, I also think he sounds genuine. I don't know. I feel like the whole thing is just like he's probably just in shock, and that's why he just sounds and maybe like he's not at the end, like it's scripted or something. I don't know. But even before the 911 call, like to me, does anyone feel like breaking down the door after like an hour of not getting in, like a little bit like over dramatic? I feel like if that was me and like the door was just locked, I'd just be like, okay, like maybe they fell asleep, they're in the shower. I'm not going to be like, okay, it's been an hour, I'm busting in the door. To me, just seems like a little bit crazy, unless he knew something was going on before he left. Like maybe they were in a huge fight. Maybe she like threatened something and then he went down to the gym to like cool off, comes back and she's not answering. I don't know. Like, would you break down the door after an hour?
No, and I also, like, we'll get into the timeline of the text and stuff. I found that was just a little eyebrow raising when we get into that timeline. I'll say why.
Yeah. Because he seems like he's kind of like pissed, like right off the bat, sort of. Like the door's locked, so he's just like losing it sort of right away.
And then later on as well, the 3 explanations is why he thinks she wasn't answering. Well, then why the hell were you panicking right away? Like, you know what I mean? Like the 3.
Yeah, it's weird.
I don't know. Anyway, but I will say, I didn't hear the 911 call until recently when I already had heard about the case, and he did sound believable to me.
Mm-hmm.
At the beginning, it sounds fine, and then as it goes, I think it's more and more unrealistic. And I think his explanation of, "Oh, she fell on a knife," or "She stabbed herself. She fell on a knife," and I'm trying not to laugh, but like to me, that's like the most wild conclusion to jump to right away, that she fell on the knife. Like, or that she stabbed herself. Wouldn't you think instantly someone stabbed her? I wouldn't think she stabbed herself right away.
Well, I just don't know a knife that can stand straight up on the floor and you fall on it.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was possible. I don't think it is.
Yeah, it's not like she was holding it, but I mean, she could have been holding it and then slipped and like it went in. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe because the fact that like the door was locked, he knew there was nobody else there, so that's why he was thinking like it must have happened. She must have done it to herself accidentally. I don't know.
Yeah. Or I just found him saying that she fell on a knife super weird.
Mm-hmm.
And also one thing that stood out to me too was she said something about, "Are you going to do CPR or can you do CPR?" He's like, "Well, I have to, right?" Like that's a weird thing to say. Like, God forbid I have to try.
Well, I took it as him being like, "Well, obviously I'm going to. What else would I do? I have to do CPR. Why wouldn't I?" To me that didn't come across weird to me.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, that's true. So yeah, anyway, I think the 911 call, I mean, everyone always
Can I also say though, I just the 911 operators, all of them, just if someone told me to chill out and relax during that, I'd have a problem. I'd be like, "Listen here, bitch. Don't tell me to chill out twice.
I know.
You gotta relax,
I feel
honey."
the same.
Like,
the 911 operators, they always act like it's like you're inconveniencing them.
Don't tell me.
Yeah, like you call and they're like, "Oh my God, here we go."
Yeah.
Like that's what I feel like it's part of their training to like remain calm.
And
That's just that's their calm voice.
And I feel like they ask us unnecessary questions a lot of the time. Like, did she fall or something? I don't know. I just can't get over here.
Yeah, but I think they do that because like if you're going back to the investigation, you want to hear what they're saying at the beginning. Right? You want to hear their explanation, see if it changes, or like, and the cops need to know what they're walking into.
But there's no need. But can we just say there's no need to ever say just relax? Because I would, I'd end up have a real problem with that. I'd end up finding out who was working that day. And
yeah, I don't know. I think I always cringe when they try to tell people to relax or chill out, even though I know obviously that. I mean, they all say it, so obviously it's part of their training or they're told to do that. But it's like the last thing somebody wants to hear when someone tells you to relax in general, but especially in like that heightened situation. It's like the last thing you really want to, the last thing you want to hear. So yeah, so that's the 911 call, and then of course police respond and find the scene, the very bloody scene of Ellen laying on the ground with the knife in her chest, and so pretty immediately, initially, investigators considered the possibility of homicide. I mean, how could you not? I think that would be the logical conclusion to come to. But then within a very short time, the medical examiner's office does rule Ellen's death a suicide. And this decision then becomes the central controversy of the case, as many people, including her parents, believe that the evidence pointed
I don't think it was
elsewhere.
the medical examiner. The police said it was a suicide, right? And then it wasn't. And a couple days later, when they actually did the autopsy, when the medical examiner said it was a homicide.
Yeah, but then the medical examiner then changed that later on. Then said it was a homicide, but then went back and said it was suicide.
Yeah.
Like it was never treated as a crime scene from the beginning, essentially, which is very strange to me.
Yeah. The police thought it was a suicide, so they're like, "Oh, okay, this is just a suicide." So doesn't matter. Because I guess, like they said in like one of the documentaries, like suicide isn't a crime in what state are they in? So
Philadelphia
yeah, Philadelphia. So you don't
or
it's not
Pennsylvania, sorry.
or Pennsylvania. Yeah. So you don't have to treat it as a crime scene if it's just a suicide. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so and the reason and that's important later on, the fact that it wasn't treated like a crime scene because there is like quote unquote like evidence tampering or like things are removed from the apartment later on, which then becomes a big point of contention too. And the reason that happened was because it wasn't locked down immediately because it wasn't seen as a crime scene, like you said. And so Lisa sort of alluded to it before, and so we might as well just talk about it now. Is the text messages that he sends. So remember, according to the timeline, he comes back up from the gym after 37 minutes or so, and the surveillance footage shows him coming up back to the apartment. And so when he finds out that the door is locked from the inside and he can't get in, he starts freaking out and starts sending text messages. So these are just some of the first few texts when he returns to his apartment. So at 5:32 p.m., he texts hello with multiple exclamation points. 5 seconds later, quote, open the door. And then 5:35 p.m., what are you doing? With exclamation points and question marks. 5:36 p.m., I'm getting pissed off. 5:41 p.m., hello again with multiple exclamation points. And then the next text comes 13 minutes later at 5:54 p.m., says, you better have an excuse. And 5:57 p.m., what the fuck? 6:03 p.m., says like H exclamation points. 6:11 p.m., quote, you have no idea. End quote. So these are the texts that he's sending. So kind of like you guys had alluded to, he starts freaking out from like immediately.
Well, he goes, hey, he goes, oh, hello, and then five seconds later, like why like you don't give him just a short amount of time to wait for a text. I find that very strange.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's almost like, yeah, hi. And then like 2 seconds later, it's like, hello, I'm here. Like, hello.
Well, it could be,
like, just wait a second.
Well, it could be though. Like sometimes you send a text, hey, and then you send another text right away with like more information. Like, I don't know. Do you say hey just by itself and then wait for them to respond and then text them what you want to know? Like you might just say
No.
hey and then right away the next thing.
I say hey and then type the whole thing in one text.
Yeah, but I sometimes say hi, like hey, and then send.
I do get
I guess.
I do get it.
Yeah.
I do get it. Like I'll text them first, and then I'm like, oh, wait, I should have just included this in the first text. Like this is why I'm saying hey, like hey, open the door. I get it, but
Yeah.
when he says
because if she got just hey, she might not know he's right at the door. Like maybe she thinks he went out somewhere or he's still downstairs. Like then to say hey, open the door.
You know what?
Like,
That does make sense. But I mean, yeah, I guess you could completely go devil's advocate on both areas, but yeah, that does make sense. But the very first time I was like, yeah, right off the bat, why would you text 5 seconds later? Like, I mean, that makes you look way guilty.
Yeah, well, and I mean, I think the text in general, like he's kind of going, like the first text, hello, multiple exclamation points is like, I mean, it's also not just hello. It's like hello, multiple exclamation points, which like seems urgent in the moment. And then I don't know, he's just like, I'm getting pissed off after a few minutes. Hello, what the fuck?
Well,
you better have
I
an
guess,
excuse. Like,
well, yeah, but how long had he been knocking first before he started texting? I wonder, because I guess maybe if he had been knocking and banged on the door, maybe he would be pissed by the time he texted. I don't know.
well, he comes back up after 37 minutes, so he goes. I also found different information because some places said that he left at 4:45 to go down, but then the documentary says that the surveillance footage says 4:50. So I think it's 4:50. So and then he comes back 37 minutes later, which would be what, 4:27, and then the first text is 5:32. So 5 minutes after he
It would
first
be
goes up.
5:27 he gets back.
Oh, sorry, what did I say? 4:27.
4:27.
5:27 he gets back, and then the first text is 5:32. So his first text is 5 minutes after he.
I guess. So I guess he could be banging on the door for like 5 minutes.
Yeah, and so I guess then
I guess
when you think
that is
like,
a long time.
and then that's why he's hello, multiple exclamation points. Like then he's pissed, but then also you think if the excuse was, well, maybe she could have been sleeping. Well, she wouldn't have been sleeping if he's banging on the door for 5 minutes. She should wake up. for that.
But
then
she
he probably
she
figured
did
she's not
have
sleeping.
sleeping pills, so wasn't she prescribed like Ambien, which is a sleeping pill? Maybe, but then again, why would she latch the door and go to sleep if she knows that he's coming back? Maybe she didn't mean to fall asleep. I don't know. I would think like, oh, she'd probably in the shower, just can't hear me or something.
Yeah. So I guess knocking at the door and then figuring.
Regardless, though, an hour and you break down the door, it's excessive. It's very excessive.
No, I actually don't think that's excessive. I don't know. Like maybe like because he knows she's in there. So if she's not answering after an hour, what happened? And then also there's a little more context too when we get into
she passed out hard.
Like I don't know. I think like an hour. I would be very suspicious if it was like immediately breaking down the door after a few minutes. But after an hour, she's not answering. You know she's in there. She's not answering you. Like I don't know. I don't know. I didn't think that was super weird after an hour, but maybe now when you guys are saying it is, maybe I'm now.
Well, they said an hour, but I guess he said half hour. On the
Yeah, he probably just like didn't realize how long it had actually been or something. But I think it was an hour. I think they determined. That was him like texting and like after he was banging on the door and just kind of like pacing back and forth.
And then he goes downstairs to talk to the doorman.
Yeah.
And then he goes back up.
Yeah, so to me, it seems like he's kind of worried about what's going on in there, which I guess you would be if she's not answering. But me, I wouldn't come to that conclusion right away. I'd think, oh, they fell asleep. They're in the shower. They just can't hear me, have headphones in. It'd be annoying because we're like, why'd you latch the door when you knew I was coming back? But I'm not going to be like, okay, I'm busting down the door now. That's just me, and I feel like that's very dramatic. But there's also probably something else going on that he knows about, right? So he knows she's stressed and like,
Like maybe they did have a fight right before he left. Maybe he went to the gym to like cool down, whatever, like just get out of the apartment, goes to the gym, and then he comes back and like he's already kind of annoyed and knows that she's probably annoyed if they had a fight. So maybe that's why he comes in hot right away, like hello. Like I don't know.
Yeah, like maybe he thought like she'd latched the door to not let him in on purpose because she's mad at him. So she's just like, you're not coming back in. I don't know.
Yeah. And like maybe he thinks that she is looking at the text, knows he's texting, knows he's calling, but is just ignoring him and locking him out.
I would just text one of my friends and be like, can you call her and see if she answers you? Like, I think she's pissed at me or something.
Yeah. That seems like a reasonable thing to do.
But he just like didn't get anyone involved, just busted down that door, like couldn't wait.
Yeah. So the texts are also like pretty heavily scrutinized and obviously everything in the surveillance footage. But the surveillance footage does corroborate his movement. So when he tells police that he left to go to the gym and then he comes back, like that is all true because you can see on the surveillance footage that is the timeline. So yeah, like we had said earlier, so it was the crime scene wasn't locked down or the apartment wasn't locked down because it was not considered a crime scene because it was they're leaning heavily towards that it was a suicide. And so now we're going to just talk a little bit more about the specific information when the police get there. So when police arrived, they found no signs of forced entry aside from the door that Sam had broken down, but they didn't find anything else, like no windows broken or nothing else. Like didn't look like anything had been rummaged through, like if it was like a robbery or something. And the apartment was otherwise undisturbed. Sam told police that he had been gone for about 30 minutes and security footage confirmed his movements. So the initial examination of Ellen's body revealed that there were 20 stab wounds, including 10 to the back of her neck and head. Some wounds were described as shallow, but others were quite deep. There were also bruises on her body, both old and new. And there's a new documentary out called Death in Apartment 603, What Happened to Ellen Greenberg. And it mentions that Ellen, as I mentioned before, was taking a few prescription medications at the time of her death, one for anxiety, one as a sleep aid. And so there is some debate, I know they talk about in that documentary, about whether the side effects of the drugs or if there was a potential drug interaction from taking both of these drugs could cause some type of bruising on the skin, because they couldn't really find a reason why there would be multiple bruises and in various stages of healing. Like they weren't all fresh bruises, some were older. And so that was something that they had talked about or looked into. Also, I think someone in the documentary says something like Ellen could have been doing intense workouts that could have led to bruising or something like that too. Ellen was seeing a psychiatrist at the time of her death about her ongoing anxiety issues. And according to interviews with that psychiatrist, Ellen would smile whenever she would mention Sam or talk about Sam. And when asked if there was any verbal or physical altercations with Sam, Ellen always said no, there wasn't. I mean, just because though she says there isn't doesn't mean that that's the case. But the psychiatrist didn't observe, based on these interviews, didn't observe anything like any, like she didn't get tense when they would talk about Sam, or she never brought up the fact that there was any type of abuse going on. And one thing that they did notice when Ellen's body was found was that she wasn't wearing her engagement ring, but they did find the ring inside the apartment. And I watched other things other than this documentary, so I'm kind of mixing up what was in the documentary and what was elsewhere. But when they asked Sam why she wouldn't be wearing it, Sam said that like she didn't usually wear it when she went to school, when she went to her job. So maybe she just hadn't put it back on when she got back to the apartment yet. But also I think they mentioned that in the documentary because maybe it's a thing of like there's like a pretty nice engagement ring still sitting there. So it's not like somebody stole it. Like it wasn't a robbery. That's kind of more proof because they saw that she wasn't wearing it. They, oh, maybe she stole it, but no, they found it in the apartment too. So that was also one thing that did come up in the documentary. So the medical examiner, Marlon Osborne, did rule the death a suicide eventually. And I think what you said, it was ruled a homicide, but then it was ruled a suicide later after that. But no one really looked into the homicide theory really at all. At least initially, or no one in like the police ever did. The rationale being that the door was locked from the inside, there was no evidence of a struggle, but this decision was obviously met with immediate skepticism. So one thing that's interesting is that the police reports from the initial investigation indicate that the security guard escorted Sam back up to the apartment and that he was there when the apartment was broken into and when Ellen was found. However, when they go and look at that surveillance footage later on, that disproves that because Sam is obviously seen going back upstairs by himself on that surveillance footage at the time that matches when he would have discovered Ellen. Sam never expressly states in police interviews that anyone was with him when he broke into the apartment, but yet the medical examiner's report does. And this report is what led one aspect of why Ellen's death was being ruled a suicide, because they could say that there was another witness that was there that saw him break down the door. Because otherwise, we only have his word to go based on that he broke out down the door at that time. But I mean, the door was broken down. So whether he broke it down when he says he did or it was at another time, I don't know. But anyway, the police reports say that there was someone there who witnessed him breaking it down at that time. But we know that that's not true because the surveillance footage shows that that wasn't the case. So Ellen's parents, Joshua and Sandra Greenberg, were adamant that their daughter would not have killed herself, and certainly not in such a violent manner. They began their own quest for answers. They hired private investigators or independent experts to review the evidence. So let's just take a closer look at the physical evidence and some of the autopsy findings. So the number and the location of the wounds raised immediate questions. And one of those questions being, could someone inflict that many injuries, especially to such hard to reach areas, and still have the strength to continue on their own? So what do you guys think of the stab wounds, first of all? Like I said, there were 20 on her back, one deep one on her head, and obviously the one in her chest. So what do you guys think of that? Like,
I mean, if you can stab yourself in the back of the head, that's quite a talent.
yeah.
And also just like it's such a painful way to go. Like if you like why stab yourself that many times trying to kill yourself? Like and why pick such like a painful, slow way to go? I don't know.
It's interesting because the ME, I think the other, like not Osborne, but another one I think that was in the documentary said that there was like hesitation wounds, which is consistent with like someone who is gonna the suicide.
Yeah, that was an interesting thing, right? Because they said they don't usually ever find that on like a homicide, like a hesitation mark. But if you're doing it to yourself, then yeah, like you're like, oh, that hurts, and like you're just not sure if you're gonna do it. And they did find that on like the back of her neck too, which is it's crazy.
Like, so those were like the shallow ones, probably then.
Yeah,
like the superficial ones.
Yeah.
I just don't understand how someone stabs themselves 20 times. If it's they do it themselves, usually one. But I guess if she was hesitating multiple times, but there was multiple deep ones. I think, right?
But also, if you got stabbed in the heart, just do that one stab in the heart, and that's good. You don't need to do the rest.
Yeah. Yeah. I
I
think the
know,
fact that
yeah.
there's 20, like if it was one single stab wound, then maybe you could start thinking, okay, maybe suicide. But 20, there's just no way. I don't think there really is. There's just no way. I don't know. But
I
I'm
mean,
not a.
there was some, like, reports, or maybe this was just speculation, that, like, one of the cuts to her back of her neck was, like, deep enough where it could have, like, severed her spinal cord a little bit, so she would have been numb, and, like, those other ones, she couldn't even feel, really, so she's just, like, stabbing and there's no pain. And then finally, she just has the courage to, like, stab her heart or something, I don't know. But then there's also reports saying that, like, though that many stab wounds, she wouldn't have been, like, functional enough to keep stabbing because she would have lost too much blood to be able to, like, keep stabbing herself. So there's, like, mixed reports. Like, nobody really knows what happened, what's going on.
But
So
I don't understand, like, the one on the back of her head. Like, it's kind of awkward. It's kind of an awkward. I don't know. Like, to me, that's super weird. And that was a deep one. So that's like, I don't know. I think that just the stab wounds in and of themselves are enough to make me think it's
And
not.
then they said, like, and then there was the lack of hemorrhaging or something, so they suggested, like, some of the wounds happened after she was dead.
oh, yeah, that was, like, another, because they had hired, like, a third party, like, neurologist or something that to, like, look into it, and she said, like, one of the options could be that some of the stab wounds happened post-mortem, but also they could have been they could have been, like, just from the autopsy marks later, but also it could have just been that they didn't happen postmortem, like, it's just hard to tell, so, I mean, there's still not really any answers, but they could have been postmortem. That's not, like, a complete no, so that's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, if they were post-mortem, then that pretty much shuts down the suicide theory, unless they were autopsy marks later, but that would be weird. But if they were, but I guess if no one knows for sure if they were, but if they are, if they could determine that for sure that they were post-mortem, then there goes the suicide theory, I think, pretty easily.
Yeah, and I think it's just because there was such a small window between, like, when she was killed and when she was found, that it's, like, hard to tell what happened when. Because if it was, like, hours later, obviously, I feel like it would be easier to tell. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, if she had died, I don't know. Maybe not, but just because it was such a small window, it was hard for really anything to happen. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah. So obviously the some forensic experts argued that the wounds obviously were inconsistent with suicide. Like we said, the angle, depth, and location of the stab wounds, particularly those to the back of the neck, would have been extremely difficult for a person to self-inflict. However, there was a neuropathologist who, and Katie, you mentioned this, who conducted or who looked at the autopsy, and he just says the spinal cord sheath was hit, but the cord may not have been severed. Therefore, Ellen most likely went numb, thus allowing her to stab herself repeatedly. And that neuropathologist is Dr. Cyril Wecht, and he made a statement and he did a report about like reviewing the autopsy, and that's in there about how she could have been numb and so she could have stabbed herself repeatedly. But also police say, or they didn't conduct a DNA test on the knife that was found at the scene or like initially, but then there was something that Ellen's DNA was the only one found on the knife. Like, so they said that in the documentary, and I found that was weird in and of itself to me, that there was only her DNA, because I feel like if it was a household knife, why wouldn't his also be on there? Like, to me, that was weird. And if he's the one who found the body, like, you think some of his DNA could have come off onto the knife. I don't know. I just find it super weird that it wouldn't have his. And if it did have his, that wouldn't be weird because it was their apartment and they shared it. So why wouldn't it have his? Like, the fact that it was just hers made
So
me
this
pause a
is
little bit.
they found that DNA, like, right away when they were looking at the crime scene before it was, like, initially ruled suicide?
I don't think they didn't
'Cause,
really
like,
do an in-depth.
yeah, because like, we didn't go over this, but I think it's important to note that, like, it was considered a suicide, and then a, like, crime scene crew came in and, like, completely sanitized the place, and then they said, "Oh, it's a homicide." Then the police, by the time they go back, it's, like, been completely professionally cleaned, and so, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised they didn't find DNA because it's fucking cleaned up by people that are there to, like, clean up a crime scene. So,
Like, if the
I mean,
company
clean.
the company was literally called, what was it, crime scene cleanup? Like,
crime scene cleanup. Yeah, like, they know what they're doing.
That scene has been wiped clean. There's nothing you're finding after they come through.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's like it was cleaned up so fast because like I guess it was Sam's uncle had contacted the property manager because they wanted to come and get some of Ellen's stuff for the funeral.
It wasn't even a blood family.
No, I know. It was like Sam's uncle and cousin. And his uncle, I think they also noted, was an attorney or something. And anyway, so the property manager like feels she does everything right. Like she contacts the police and the police are like, well, it's a suicide, there's no crime scene. And then she's like, well, there's blood everywhere. I don't want them to come in and see that. And they're like, well, hire somebody to clean it up. And they suggested this crime scene cleanup. And I feel like she was just trying to do the right thing. So she's like, I don't want the family to come in and like see this mess. She hires them. Well, I feel like she does more than the police do. She actually does like a video walk around of like the scene before it's cleaned up. And like she did it for insurance purposes. So there was like no damage or like they couldn't be sued for like the crime scene, people stealing stuff. But the police didn't do like a walk around video that I know of, or that in depth anyway. And then anyway, so crime scene's completely cleaned up, spotless. Sam's uncle and cousin go in to get some stuff, but they also like take her laptop and her phone and then stuff for the funeral, I guess, and then they leave. And then the police are like, oh wait, it actually was ruled a homicide. We gotta go back. By that time, it's too late. Even her computers and stuff are gone. And yeah, are you going to talk about like what the police do find on her computer?
Yeah, that was
okay.
On there. So yeah, there was a forensic sweep done of Ellen's computer at some point, and there is mention that they found searches for things such as methods of committing suicide, quick death, painless suicide, and depression were just some of the searches there. I just put a kind of a side note, something that I noticed is it's also inconsistent if she's looking up painless suicide and then stabs herself 20 times. That's not going to be a painless suicide. So if those were searches that she had done herself and she's considering painless suicide, then she chose probably the least painless way. So to me, that was weird right away. But I don't know if you guys also thought that, or what do you guys think of the searches? Because basically the point is what you said, that the fact that people came and took her computer and her laptop is now they say if there is ever any type of like trial or anything in this case, that computer evidence or phone evidence cannot be used in a court because the chain of custody has been intercepted by the family or by people that aren't the police. So
well, yeah, and they were saying like
that.
Yeah. And they're saying like if you are good enough with computers, you can like change the timestamps on those searches. So they could have went back and like try to change when they happened. Yeah, because like if they had done, obviously if those searches came up after she had died, it wouldn't be legitimate. But they said like, oh, you can change that kind of thing in a computer, and I guess you can't track it. I don't know. So it's just like enough to be like it's not going to hold up in court.
It just seems like very convenient finds they found like weeks later, on a computer.
Yeah, and also another thing that we didn't talk about was like obviously they had like a patio or something, like a back window, but they were like, this was like, the apartment was like 603, so I think they were up like 5 or 6 floors, but also there had been a snowstorm, so you could tell if there was like somebody out there, and like the snow there was like no footprints, nothing had been disturbed outside in the snow, so it was obvious someone didn't like break in through the window and then leave, and that's why the door was still latched. So yeah, I think that's just something to note too.
Yeah, I was going to mention that too later. Like there was nothing, like no other signs, like footprints in the snow, but it's also snowing a ton. So couldn't someone have come in and then new snow has fallen and then it covers everything? Then it wouldn't look like there was any disturbance, but
yeah, maybe.
They would just the police have a going off this timeline that they only have because Sam told them. Like it's very possible she could have died before he even left for the gym. Like they're going off between 4:50 and 5:27 because Sam said he left at 4:50. But she could have died.
But he did, like the surveillance footage.
I know, but that doesn't mean he didn't. And according to Sam, she was fine and well when he left. But
yeah, and I also saw somewhere her like phone activity. The last activity she had on her phone was like 4:47, and then Sam goes to the gym at 4:50. Like that seems a bit suspicious. Like what, she just wasn't using texting after he left. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, but maybe. And like the thing too is there's someone in the documentary, sorry I can't remember their name, but she does mention how usually when someone if someone does end up taking their own life, there's usually a very small window of time between like the moment you decide to do it and then actually doing it. So I guess maybe the implication there is that like she could have decided in the moment and then
Well, yeah,
carried it out right
the
away.
guy, one of the guys that they hired later on, like the people that there was 3 people in the documentary that went back and investigated everything. And he said, I found it very, if she's planning to kill herself that day, she fills up her gas tank before she goes home. You know, that he thought that was weird. But then the other
Yeah.
girl did say, well, she might have just thought she might not have planned it until she got home. You just one of those things, you just don't know. And she did say most suicides are planned very quickly. Like they just, there's not much time between deciding and doing it, they say.
Yeah, like even if someone has like the ideation of it for a long time, when they make that moment or the decision to do it, they usually follow it up with the action very shortly after. So maybe she
Yeah,
did
I guess
decide
she
in the
could have just been
moment,
waiting
like,
for Sam to leave, right? And then the second, like the moment he left, like she just like went through with it.
yeah. And I think the documentary too has like for every argument that you could make for one case, there's something that could debunk it. Like when you say, well, why would she fill up her like what you just said? Why would somebody fill up their gas tank if they know that they're gonna like commit suicide? But then it's like, well, then she could have decided in the moment. So when she went
Well,
and
then,
filled up her tank, she didn't have any intention.
well, then the other girl's like, well, I know when there's a big storm going on, I fill up my gas tank when a big storm's hitting. That's just something I do. So maybe she could be the same way,
But if she's planning on taking her life, that she wouldn't feel like she would need to do that.
Yeah. So it could work both. Yeah. So there's an argument for everything.
Yeah.
And there's also an argument like, why latch the door if you know that he's going to be coming back so soon? Like, you know what I mean? Like, why lock the door like that for just like a half an hour kind of thing?
Yeah. And then there is also, we didn't get into it yet, but might as well bring it up now that we're talking about the latch. But there is mention in the documentary, or one of the experts says that she has experience where the latch will latch itself.
That was
So
the building manager said that.
Oh yeah, that was the building manager. So she said,
yeah,
it's
if you
happened to her
slam the
before.
door, if you slam the door hard enough, like it's happened to her where like the latch latches itself. That's another reason that makes me think like there was a huge fight and like maybe he slammed the door and then it latched itself. But I mean, that doesn't prove anything either way. The door latched on its own. So what? But I mean, yeah, that doesn't mean she latched it kind of thing.
Yeah, but that's still but I guess that doesn't really prove anything either way. Like, okay, if it latched on its own, but I don't know. I guess what was the implication of that? Like that it can happen, but like, okay, it does happen. Then what?
Well, I think
or like somebody came in and murdered her, slammed the door super hard, and it latched. So somebody could have come in, done something, and then the door latched when they left.
Well, I think like,
but there's no surveillance footage that shows anyone else
that's
entering or
true.
leaving.
Yeah.
Like Osborne, the original, I mean, he said one of the reasons he changed it to one of the reasons he changed it to suicide was strictly because the door is locked from the inside. So I guess like the point of like I think the building manager was just trying to say like it could happen. That doesn't mean it was suicide. That doesn't make it suicide 100%.
Okay, yeah, I guess.
Yeah, and
so
also
he could have
said,
killed her before he leaves for the gym and slammed it.
Yeah, like
and then it latched.
Emmy was basically saying it's suicide because the door is locked from the inside. Case,
But that would be
yeah,
very
and also
convenient
because
for like
but
how
also
would he know that was going to happen? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like he just got very lucky that the door happened to also latch.
Well, maybe that's
That
why he
made
was
it look
panicking.
good.
Like he thought she was dead, but then he comes home and then found out she had latched the door after. And so he's like, "Oh my god, she's not dead." You know what I mean? Like I don't know. He's
No,
like,
but
"Oh
I'm
my
saying,
god,
like,
there's somebody in there with her. She's alive in there. I had done something and I thought I left her to die. She's not." So I don't know. Maybe that's why he's
Yeah.
so panicked. Just for the
Sorry,
record,
Kate, what were you
I don't think Sam. I'm not 100% saying Sam did it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like that phone call seemed genuine. So these are just theories that are out there. But I don't know. I'm not saying I think Sam did it.
Yeah. And I guess we should also say that he's denied all of the allegations that have come against him and nothing's been proven in court. So everything is just a theory. And his actions, I mean, they talk about him at the funeral and that he was like very sincerely upset and like wailing at the funeral and stuff. So like nothing in his behavior right after has really raised eyebrows. Like maybe people look at the 911 call and think it's kind of weird, but like there's nothing other than But I also think the taking of the devices, like the computer and the laptop, like I think that would be a very normal thing. Like they say that the funeral took place very shortly after, like maybe a couple of days, which they say is typical in like
Well,
Jewish custom.
it
So
was
like
2 days
they would
after.
want photos and stuff like that. So maybe they're going
Yeah.
to her
Well,
computer
it was
for
2
that.
days afterwards, I think, which is the Jewish custom. But part of me thinks that he knew that they were going to bury him quickly when he knew that was going to happen. He knew that she would get buried quickly, and that was a pro in his plan too.
Yeah. But it's this case. The thing that's so crazy that we said is there can be you debunk everything that's weird. There's something that an explanation for it. So nothing in this case is really, I mean, except the surveillance footage is the one thing that the surveillance footage. That's like the one concrete fact in this is the fact that he left at that
well,
time.
That's the
Didn't he
thing.
say that?
Either Sam did it before he left, or she did it while Sam was gone. Like, there's no other way. And then for me saying I don't think Sam did it, then I must believe it was a suicide. So,
But
like,
didn't
that's
Sam
kind of like the
say-
conclusion, I guess.
Sam said it. He was only interviewed by the police twice, I think, and in both interviews he said someone went up with him and witnessed the door being knocked down. But that's not true.
Yeah, that was one of
And
the reasons why
he said it twice.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why the Emmy changed it to suicide, because it's like, well, someone saw him breaking down that door because it was locked from the inside, and that makes it a little bit more obvious. But then that never actually happened, so.
But someone in the documentary says that he never actually explicitly says that he was with someone. Like, alludes to it, but never says, "Oh, this guy was with me when this happened." It's like maybe they took that conclusion from what he said, but then when they went back and looked at it, like he never explicitly says that.
And there wasn't there like the neighbor that lived across the hall that saw it. Like he heard. Did he not say he heard?
Yeah, I think he did say he heard him smashing down the door. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But probably him yelling at her inside.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But they also looked at the door, and they could tell that like where the latch was like ripped off, so it was obviously latched when the door was broken open, right? So it's not like he just said the latch; it was latched.
Yeah.
It actually
I think there's no question that the door was latched and that it was broken down. Like the entry into the apartment happened through the door.
Yeah. Well, if there's surveillance video, isn't there video of him breaking the door down?
She
like,
said
why is this such a mystery?
She said there's no cameras in the elevator or the hallways at that time. During that time, 2011. The building manager said that.
No, there is.
Yeah, she said there was
they
cameras
see him leaving.
No, they said there's cameras out in the lobby and all around the parking lot. But she said in 2011 we didn't have cameras in the hallways.
Oh, so there's no cameras of him actually at the door.
And then we see him in the main lobby going in and out of the elevator.
The surveillance footage shows him like at the elevator bay.
Yeah, and all
like
the parking lot and all the parking lot had cameras in every corner. But back then, I guess she said there was no.
Yeah, but basically, like, so they are pretty sure that there was no other entry into the apartment. Like, no one came in through a window or something or broke in, and there was obviously no robbery. There was nothing was taken. There was no things like disheveled across the apartment or anything. But also the one thing, I can't remember if we mentioned it, but there was also no defensive wounds on her body, which was another thing that led them to suicide. Which you'd think if somebody was violently and viciously attacked like that, there would be some type of defensive wounds, but there was none that they could find.
Yeah, but there's also bruising on her. Like if someone was like holding her tight so she couldn't move her arms and then stabbed her, there wouldn't be any. But like, there would be bruising.
Yeah, they said that there's bruises at different stages of healing, which I felt like no one really dwelled on too much.
Yeah. I mean, they mentioned that in the documentary when they say, well, maybe the medication she was taking, that could be a side effect, or like the fact that she was taking both of them at the same time, they kind of like, or that it could have been physical exercise that she did that led to that. But because I guess the implication is when you think about it, if someone says there's a bunch of bruising that's like in the process of healing, it's like, okay, well, she got those earlier. So then it's like, are they trying to imply that there's some type of physical abuse happening between her and Sam? And that's why, which if that was the case, then you might want to look into him a little bit more. But
yeah, I think that's kind of what they were trying to get at. But yeah, like you mentioned before, she never said there was any abuse at all. There's no other kind of record of that. So
yeah, and no one ever came.
Well,
no one ever came forward and said she talked to them about him.
No, but they did say in the documentary, they did say like Fen said she did change, like she seemed a little different with him. Like she was hanging out with him more and more. Like kind of was closed off a bit when she started dating him.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. I guess that happens though. You start dating someone and you like spend more time with them than you do anybody else. So someone looking in might be like, "Oh, she's spending all of her time with him," but like that's kind of a normal thing, I think.
And then she
Especially
said
in the beginning, right?
yeah, but they said that like, and then she got engaged in June, I think it was. But then after a while, like she didn't want to talk about the wedding plan. She seemed kind of like like she kind of didn't seem as excited anymore. So maybe something was going on, and like they said she just didn't talk about it as much anymore near the end. Like she just didn't.
Yeah, but that could have also been like why she was so stressed out too. Like that could have been like she had this new job, so she was stressed out from her work, and also planning a wedding. I'm sure is hella stressful. So I feel like all of that, those things just together were making her just super anxious, and she just didn't want to talk about what was stressing her out. Maybe not necessarily because she didn't want to get married anymore, but she was just stressed out about the whole thing.
Yeah.
Someone said that like Sam never. I think it's one of her friends that says he never came to us though, because there was things that like she was struggling or she was more stressed about, and it's like someone said, why didn't he go to any of us and ask like how can I help her? People might not want other people to know what's going on in their life. Like if she's confiding in him about all this and I'm super stressed, like maybe he's not going to go and blab that to all of her friends and say she told me all this stuff's happening. How do I help her? You know, like I think that that's kind of a weird thing. You wouldn't necessarily show like broadcast that to everyone in her life, right? So may not want to ask other people in her life. So I don't know, because yeah, people were like, why didn't he come to us and ask how he could help if he was really concerned about her or she was really stressed or all this stuff? But anyway, so there's always like a rebuttal for every point that you can bring up.
It just seems like just the way the cops handled it, though. It's like they asked for the surveillance tape. Remember, they said, "Oh, we don't have it actually." And then finally, when they got subpoenaed, like, "Oh, you meant that surveillance tape? Oh, I didn't know what you were talking about." And they found the surveillance tape in the closet with all the Christmas decorations instead of what it should be. Like, just like they were just so sketchy about it. Like, why hide it if it really is a cut and dry? I don't know. It's just
the police were sketchy as hell in the investigation, I think. And also one thing too is that when we talked about the searches on the computer of these alleged searches of quick death or painless suicide, the medical examiner's report from 2011, like the original one, does not mention anything about the searches. The case and the police files don't mention that. The district attorney's office don't include any mention of any of this. But these devices were taken from the crime scene. Like it's later on that they find out that these searches happened, but none of the initial reports that you can find or anything, nothing is mentioned about that.
They also say that there was no sign of a struggle, but it was such a small area. Like there was a little bit, like the knife block was turned over with all the knives scattered everywhere, and like it was a little bit of a mess. Like so, if she had like looked like, why would knife blocks and knives be thrown all over the place if she was just grabbed one to kill herself?
Yeah, but she was also making like a fruit salad, so she was using knives already. So she could have been cutting something and then put the knife somewhere, use a different knife to cut something else.
The whole block was
the block falling over. Yeah,
but I think the block knocked over.
Yeah,
it was. Yeah, it was like on its side.
Yeah, and
someone had like reached for a knife quickly and knocked it over. I don't know.
I guess. I mean, yeah, I guess. But
I don't know.
It looked like it was kind of like a struggle. Like they were both like.
But also, couldn't have been like in the chaos of like the discovery of the body and like the police and everyone getting there. It could have been knocked over somehow.
But it wasn't in the way. It was like in the back, like against the wall, on the counter, but on its side. I don't know.
But also, one thing I wanted to know too was like her body was found, like her head was like against the cupboards, right? But I'm wondering, like, did he, like when she was laying flat down and then he like lifted her up?
He said she's on her back. Yeah.
And
yeah, but then when they came in,
and then even like the investigator, like the people that were like, I think it was the people that they hired, the family hired later on, said like you would even like standing in the doorway, you would have noticed the knife in her chest, but apparently Sam didn't notice until he was like, he didn't notice the knife sticking out of her chest, and they said like the blood wasn't trickling down if she had been laying on her back.
Oh yeah, it was like from her mouth and it went to her ear.
Yeah,
which wouldn't have happened if she was sitting up the whole time because it would have just went down. So that was, it was like the body was definitely moved. Yeah, that's weird.
But I think that she could have been laying down, but then he like propped her up.
On her.
On his
he
own.
could have moved her. But why set
Yeah.
her up like that if he's gonna ready to do CPR and he says she's laying down? Once he realizes there's a knife in her chest and he's not doing CPR, he like props her up. Like that seems weird, right? Weird thing to do.
Yeah. I don't know, but I feel like every case people always talk about like what people have done in the moment, but like I feel like a lot of people commenting on those things, like the people in the documentaries and stuff, it's like maybe they've never been in that situation themselves. How do they know how they'd react? Like, people do weird things when they're like
That's
in
true. Maybe
a
she's lying on
shocking
the floor.
situation.
He's trying to like get her, like you just get her up off the floor, kind of thing. And that is obviously
Like
she's
maybe he
gonna be
didn't. Maybe he
heavy.
thought like if like she was stabbed, like she might asphyxiate on her blood or something. Like so he props her up so that she's not going to
Yeah, but
choke on her
it just
blood.
is the
Or
fact
like
that
internal bleeding. I don't know.
the cops and even he adamant that she was not moved. He even said, I did not move her. So why lie?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. But I think basically the overall conclusion in the case is that it was not handled right at all. Surprise, surprise, by the police. But in hindsight, it's probably easier to think of, oh, this wasn't handled. But if they thought genuinely in the moment it was a suicide, they're not thinking that they have to preserve every last thing. It's not a homicide investigation, and obviously the procedures for a homicide investigation and not a homicidal investigation is very different. So that to them, it probably wasn't like a weird action. It's like, well, of course, if it's a suicide, we're gonna do this next step, and if it's a homicide investigation, we're gonna do this next step. So I don't know, but the police, all the police reports were like inconsistent because none of them mentioned like all these other things that then came up later about like so there's just a lot of inconsistencies in everything. And then in 2019, the Greenberg family, they filed a civil suit against the medical examiner's office alleging negligence in the investigation, and they argue that crucial evidence was overlooked or mishandled. And independent experts hired by the family have pointed to potential errors in the autopsy and the failure to investigate the possibility of homicide. So despite these efforts, though, the official ruling has not changed. The case remains listed as a suicide, though the Greenbergs continue to appeal and push for answers. So yeah, and the most recent development that came up was that I think it was just we're filming this in late October, and it was just a couple weeks ago, was the big news in the case, or the update was that the ruling was kept the same. So it's still considered a suicide and not a homicide to this day. But there's still lots of people online, like her family are still adamant that they should at least look into it more as a homicide. And no one's like saying, like, no one has, I don't think the family, to my understanding, has come out and said, yeah, he did it. Sam did it. It's more
I
so
just feel
like we
like
just want them to look into that as a possibility.
I just feel like if Sam had nothing to do with it, he was so quick to be like it was a suicide. He didn't seem to be like, well, let's just try to look at it. Like he was gung ho for it. He didn't say like, can we? He didn't seem to be like, well, let's like I want to really find out like what was a homicide. Like he just didn't seem to really.
Yeah, like he seemed pretty
Yeah,
satisfied with
like
the ruling.
yeah, like 2 days later, she's buried, and like he took off. Like he just didn't seem to think like maybe he just didn't seem to think anything else. It was I don't know. I find that weird.
But also he probably was thinking, well, if they do think of it as a homicide, I'm going to be the first one that they investigate.
But if he didn't do it, then investigate me all you want.
Yeah, but I mean, we know how people get wrongly convicted all the time. I mean, maybe the average person wouldn't know that. But like I feel
Yeah.
like we maybe do that on the podcast. Like
Yeah.
if the police think you did it or they just want an easy investigation, they can pin anything on you. So like I don't think necessarily he would be adamant to be like, well, let's let them look into every
And
possibility,
I guess
including myself.
I guess normally they probably would have looked right at him. If I think that locked door from the inside really really diverted all attention from anybody.
Oh yeah, if that door wasn't locked, then he probably would be convicted. I feel that really
Yeah.
was like what made it for sure a suicide in their eyes.
Yeah. Because all the other things.
Did she lock the door so he wouldn't get blamed for it? She was thinking ahead. You know, I don't want him to go down for this.
I don't know.
I don't know, because I mean, who knows what she would have been thinking in that moment if she did commit suicide. Who knows what she would have been thinking in the moment? I don't know if she would have even been thinking that, but maybe, I don't know. Can't speak to that, but it's just, yeah. I guess we might as well just say, each of you, like, what do you think? What is, if you had to pick, what do you think is the answer? Because really, like I think Katie mentioned before, it's really only one of two things.
I don't know. I don't think she killed herself. I don't know how you stab yourself in the back of the head. I'm just very confused about that.
That's what I mean. Like, I feel like I'm not blaming Sam. I feel like he didn't do it. I just feel like he was genuine. But then, like we said, it could only be one of two things. But suicide is also so strange. It's such a strange way to go.
Unless someone else broke into the apartment that wasn't him in the time that he was away and broke the door down. But I don't know. I guess that's probably not.
I guess someone that lived there, so there was no surveillance of them going on the elevator, coming in. Like a neighbor did it and then ran back to their apartment.
Yeah, but there was no reason to think that that's what happened because that doesn't
No.
make sense. Like that's less logical than the other two options, probably. Like some random other person came in that moment that he was gone. Maybe if it was a neighbor and knew that he had
Or
left.
they were already, or
Mhm.
they're already in the apartment and they were hiding, waiting for her.
But he was there too. Like it's probably a
Yeah,
small
I mean,
apartment. How would someone hide there for like hours?
in the closet or something.
Because she came home at like shortly after 1:30 and then he leaves at 4:50, so 3 hours. He's like just chilling there. I don't know.
And then the door locks from the inside, though. After he leaves. And he slams it, I guess, and it locked on its own. I don't know. It's weird. Like, those are
But
all
then they
really
would have
weird
but then they would have been
situations.
they would have gotten really that whoever did if it was someone who did it, they got really lucky that the
Mhm.
door happened to
Yeah.
latch as they left. Because you can't know that that's going to happen. Like I don't think most people would think of that. Oh, if I
No.
slam it really hard, the door will latch on itself. Like no one
Unless
thinks
they
that.
know that would happen, because maybe they slam the door all the time and it happens. Or they've done it before. I don't know. I feel like that's unlikely, though.
Yeah. But
Somebody
those
either
are
got
really the
really
only
lucky
three.
or it's just a
Oh,
really
they just
strange
said
suicide.
whether it latches or not, they're going to blame the husband. I can get away with this.
Yeah. I guess, but then what's the motive? Like, someone quickly comes in there and does that and then leaves, like, this, and they don't steal anything, like, there's no sexual assault, like, it's just like, why?
Yeah, I don't think it was someone random at all. I was just
Yeah. And I think, and like in other documentaries, not about this case, but just in case in general, they say when you start an investigation, like the very first thing, it's like there are three options. It's like it's a homicide, suicide, or an accident. And it's like, well, we can rule out accident because you don't get stabbed 20 times by accident in that way. So it's either one of those other two. And I don't know. As we've said this whole time, when you think of, oh, but this, I think it's this because of this, then there's like a point to debunk that. So there really is no clear answer at all. But I guess, so Lisa said she doesn't think that she did it. So you think that it was a homicide. Okay. Katie, what do you think?
I don't know. I'm still stuck on, I don't think it was Sam, but I also don't think it's likely someone else came in and did it. But it's such a weird suicide. I don't know. I might be leaning towards suicide, I guess. It's like 55 suicide, 50 or 45 not suicide.
Yeah. It would just be the oddest.
It's also like, did she choose to do it that day because of the snow day, and that was just an opportunity for her? Maybe if there had been a snow day, was that just? I don't know. Like, I don't know. It's a weird.
But I also think like maybe it was like if she had been taking medication, like maybe she had been taking too much. She was taking them both at the same time. She wasn't in her right mind and just had like a moment where she just like snapped. But she was just like kind of out of it and just did it. So maybe she had like suicidal ideation before, but never actually like went as far as acting on it until maybe she was super stressed. Maybe they had a fight. Maybe she took pills. She was like out of it.
Anti-anxiety and antidepressant medication, like one of the side effects is suicidal thoughts, especially if you're like coming off of them or you're not taking them the right way, right? That's like one of the risks of lots of medications. So I feel like that she could have just not taken them properly, or taking too many and just it was affecting her.
And I feel like every time in cases when, the therapist is saying, well, she never expressed, or her friends are saying she never talked about suicide. I asked her if she was suicidal. She said no. I don't, that doesn't hold a lot of water to me, because a lot of people don't say what they're actually thinking. They don't want to scare people. I mean, she really could have been suicidal for years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. Like I always find the fact that people say, well, no, I know her or I know them. I know they wouldn't do this. And it's like, but there are a lot of people who do take their own life that also people also did think that, but it is that they did kill themselves. So I don't know. And they also didn't think that they would do that. Like most people don't think that someone would actually do that.
Yeah. I find myself leaning towards not suicide, but then I almost like I'm talking myself into thinking it was. Like, I don't know. I'm like, I don't
And
know.
also
It's very strange.
one thing I do think I was having this thought as I was watching the documentary, and I also don't want to say that like I can't psychoanalyze anyone, but I also think even if it's like not a conscious thing, I think maybe too people might want to think that it's a homicide because if it was a suicide, then there's this thought of like, well, maybe I could have prevented it. Maybe I could have. What if I had done this, or what? Maybe I had done that. Whereas if it is a homicide, it's more of like, well, there's nothing you could have done. So maybe it's like a subconscious thing to like protect yourself, or to like not have your own self to have that guilt.
Well, yeah, and they mentioned the documentary too that the family thinks it's like a homicide. They want to prove that to like to clear Ellen's name of suicide, right? Like it's this shameful thing for suicide. So if it was a homicide, then we'll clear her name from that. Which is like it's such a weird thing to think of, but it's like not. I don't know. Yeah, it's like shameful to have someone that killed themselves in your family. Even if it was a homicide, that makes it better, sort of.
But I
I
feel
can
like
see that like that stigma there, but it's
if
awful either way.
she had actually like if there was obvious that she had killed herself, then they'd be like, yeah, she did kill herself, and they'd live with that. But because it was so a weird way, I feel like they wouldn't. I don't know. It's hard to believe, I guess. Yeah, I don't know what I'm trying to say actually.
No, I know. It's like yeah, it's so not so obvious that it's a suicide, so they just wanna hold on to that hope that maybe it wasn't a suicide and that they can actually put someone can go down for this and it wasn't, it wasn't her fault, it wasn't the family's fault, it was completely random, somebody killed her. So I can definitely see why they're trying to hold on to that hope of a homicide.
And and for them, like that they believe they genuinely feel it was a homicide. Like it must be so frustrating to have now. Like there was hope that maybe there would be a ruling that like it was deemed unknown or suspicious, but then the fact that it came back and it was still they haven't changed their determination. So that's like
And the fact that like no one heard like a struggle going on is I feel like it would be quite. You would hear something if you were like right next door down the hall. You would hear a huge knife fight. You would hear
Well, yeah, and
something.
like yelling, like you'd think she'd yell in pain and like help and stuff, but they didn't hear anything. So
So maybe she did kill herself.
yeah, yeah, it kind of seems like that. The more we talk about it, the more I kind of think like, yeah, maybe it was.
yeah. I think it was like if we'll never know. I don't think ever, but the fact that like if it is that is what happened, it would just be like the weirdest, strangest. I don't know. I just think there's like I don't know. It's just weird. Like that would be your go-to thing, like stabbing yourself like 20 times. But also like the in the back of head too. That's just weird to me. Like it's just weird. And then you think like if because the one on the back of her head was like really, really deep. So you think that would be the one that was like the fatal one. But like the knife was found in her chest. So it's like she had to stab herself super deep in her head and then also was able to still stab herself after that. I don't know. I don't know. It's super weird.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's a hard thing to do. That's what like the hesitation marks, but then I don't know.
So I guess we just don't know. The conclusion is we don't know. I guess we're leaning towards suicide the more we talk about it. But yeah, so that is where the case sits today, even though the family is still fighting for the truth and for like the reports or like for the investigation to like reopen and maybe get some more answers for it, or to at least have the determination changed to unknown or homicide or do something more than what they've done. So that's kind of where the case is. And like I said, it kind of is back up in the news again because of this new documentary and also because of the update and other podcasts have done it. So yeah, that's sort of our thoughts or our input. And I guess, like I said, we'll never know. I don't think there's no way to ever really know. And the further you get far, it's already been 14 years. So the further you get away from it too, the less likely you are to know even more. So yeah, but so that does it for our discussion on this case. Thank you so much for listening to us talk about this case in the first episode of season 7. And we're happy to be back and hope you like having Lisa on the podcast because she's going to be here for the full season. So I hope you do. But anyway, yes, as always, you can find us. You can watch the video version of the show on YouTube, also on Spotify. You can listen to watch the full video. You can also listen to us at Apple Podcasts and any other podcast app that you have. Follow us on Facebook, Crime Family Podcast, Instagram, Crime Family Podcast, and we're there, and interact with us. Give us case suggestions if you like as well. You can email us, crimefamilypodcast@gmail.com, if you want to give us a shout out or want to give us a case suggestion or just give us your feedback. So until next week, so we'll be back next week with a brand new episode. And until then, take care. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.